Okay, Daniel, when you're ready. Oh, perfect. Yay! Welcome everybody to our Monday night team call. It is January 22nd and it is the first day of the Lime Green Shred team and we are going to rock it. And tonight I'm so excited to introduce one of our really one of the most special people I've met at corporate yet. And Stephen Shapiro is with us on the line. He's going to lead us through the call tonight. And he is the West Coast Regional Director. I have to say, I was so impressed and just so honored that he spent as much time as he did with me and our team members out here on the West Coast on his last trip, that we're going to utilize him every chance we get because he's got a wealth of knowledge and just really brings a huge smile to this experience. And it's been so refreshing and wonderful to work with you so far, Steve. So I really, really am grateful that you'll join us tonight. And I hope you get to know, our team as the days and years go on, because that's what it's all about. We're stronger together. So.
Exactly. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for inviting me onto your call. I really appreciate that. And there's nothing more fun than, getting an opportunity to meet with our representatives and sort of talk through what our company is about, but also talk about how we can all, increase our wealth and help people also get healthier, right? We want to be able to do both. So I want to give you a little bit about the company first, and not necessarily about the company, but where we are as a company, which I think is most important to you guys. So as many of you know, this is our 25-year anniversary that in 2018. And that is important because it shows stability. And where you really see the stability is that 2017 was our best year ever. And before that, 2016 was our best year ever. Before that, 2015 was, and 2014 was. So we continue to grow as a company. And other direct selling companies have been around longer, but are going through more difficult times. And there are some that come and go. But rest assured, you're with a company that is growing and evolving. I spent 7.5 years at Avon as the Western Regional Director. And right after that, 3.5 years at Pandora Jewelry in retail, with 375 stores in the Midwest, 11 territory managers. So I've been in and out of direct sales, but have a lot of friends in direct selling as well, to go along with my 7.5 years at Avon. So when I came here, I wanted to see what was different. And there's a lot different at Juice Plus than there is at Avon, or friends that I have at Rodan and Fields, friends that I have at Pampered Chef, friends that I have at Mary Kay. It's a much different world. And I want to give you some of those examples because I think it's really important for you to know that, but also to be able to talk to other people about it who you're bringing to your team. It's not like a good idea. Just give me a thumbs up if it sounds good to you. Excellent. Okay, thank you. So number one is the community that Juice Plus is. I hope all of you feel that on a regular basis, but just the support that our representatives give each other is something that I didn't see at Avon, and I haven't known about at other places. Sidelines working together. And I think that's important too. And gaining ideas from other people outside of your team. All of you don't live where Melissa lives. So you go to events that Melissa may not be at, but you find the support wherever you might be. I think there's a definite feeling, a positive feeling that runs throughout Juice Plus. Now, part of that is because of the mission itself, right? We're helping people all around the world live a healthier life. And it's a very noble mission, and it's hard not to get behind. I think everybody wants to be healthier. Some people just don't know how to get there. And that's part of what we do, is lead them down a healthier path. So I think that's part of what makes us so positive, is that, we're living a mission that is easy to speak to. Our product line is limited on purpose. We have 7 things to sell. And you have the capsule family, and you have your bars, and you have your shakes. And of course you have your tower gardens. But it's at Avon, we had a new catalog every 2 weeks with 400 items in it, and a quarter of which were new every 2 weeks. So you can imagine the representatives really didn't have a great feel for what their new products were all the time. So I think that really helps us a lot. But I also think it allows us some room to evolve. I think you saw that with the Omegas this year. I hope all of you have had success with Omega and selling it, because I know we've had great success myself in the West region. We've done a really good job with our existing customers. But that product took a lot of years in the making, and we didn't come out with it until we knew we had it right. I think Shred 10, how many of you have taken part in the Shred? Yes. And I think that's interesting too, because that came from the field. And that was a situation where there were so many different programs going on around the country. We couldn't get a feel for what was going on, what was right. There were people doing things we really didn't feel was the right way to promote the brand. So we brought representatives in-house and came up with Shred 10 and found a way to market and talk about it and promote it and help people. And that's another big difference between what we do and others do, is that most of what we do is representative driven. Really, the only thing that's not is conference. And even then, you have your representatives on stage, right? And so even something like this, Melissa came to me and asked me to come on and set this all up. It wasn't me directing anything. So I think representative driven is important too, because it gets you what you want and what you need to be successful. So when we talk about your business, there are a couple of things I want you to really take away tonight. And whenever we do a talk like this, or whenever you're at a regional or a boot camp, and I know a lot of you are coming off of regionals and coming off of boot camps or about to go into a few, just take this word of advice, is that you'll hear a lot of things. And sometimes at a regional, it's a day and a half, or a boot camp, it's a day and a half, and you're taking notes all day long. And I've done this before, where you take notes and you come home and you put it on your shelf and you don't look at them again. Anybody ever done that? I know I have, and I'll admit to it. And so what I'll ask you to do is, whenever you go to a regional or a boot camp or any kind of event, or even tonight, try to take like 2 things that you know you can implement the next day and run with that. Okay, sound good? I need affirmation. Just give me something. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's just me. I need affirmation. So one of the things I wanted to talk about actually is 2 key things in our business. Number 1 is the balance you find between your customer base and customer acquisition and team building. Right? That's the toughest thing to find, right? Is like, what's my balance going to be in my business? What's going to bring me the biggest bang for my buck? What is going to be, if I invest my time, where should I invest it? So the first thing I will say to you is, above everything else, we're a customer-based business, right? So we know that the easiest way to begin to build your business is to build it through your customers. Number 1, it's, if you're passionate about the product, then it's easy to talk about, and it's easier to get other people to try it, buy into it, because they see the success that you're having. You can tell your product story. They can listen to it and say, you know what, I want to try that also. That's the easy part. But once you're somebody with 20 to 25 customers, 30 customers, I can tell you from experience that you have enough customers. Okay? Now, what you have to do is begin to build team. What I'd like to see you do is build that team along the way. So you're building team at the same time you're building your customer base, because that's how you'll make your most money that way. Everybody with me so far? Okay, good. Thank you. Good. And so that's where you do it best. But the important thing is to realize that once you have that customer base, now it's time to really full steam ahead with building your team. And that customer base does 2 things for you. Number 1, it builds retail sales profit, right? We all need that. But it also builds people who can eventually become team members. Because the best thing about that is they already love the product. So now you're exposing them to the other side of your business. And let's talk about that for a second. So I started taking the product. Now, I've been a regional director for about 1 year and 2 weeks. All right. And love my job, love everything about it. But I started taking the product 11 years ago. And So when I came as a regional director, you'd have to convince me about the product. I love the product already, and I use all of it. And my family uses all of it. But I want to take you back 11 years because this will tell you a good story and how I got started on the product. So I work out every morning, and I used to live in Colorado. And when you work out every day at the same time, you see the same people. Every day there's a comfort in that, in going there and you see the same people and you smile and maybe some small talk and things like that. So after a while, woman walks up to me, and we had some small talk, smile, how you doing, pretty much every single day. She's an NMD still in Colorado from 11 years ago. She's still there, saw our conference, and became a family friend. And she said, I have a question for you. And I said, what's that? She goes, you work out every day, and do you get enough fruits and vegetables in your diet? Very direct, right? Do you get enough fruits and vegetables in your diet? And of course, as you can imagine, my first reaction was, of course I do. Right? Because, back off. Of course I do. And because you don't want to say no. So she says, well, really? So tell me about what you eat. And I told her. And she said, is that what you shop for every week at the grocery store? I said, yeah, because that's what I like. And she said, well, that's interesting. But what if I told you that I had a product that could get you 30 fruits and vegetables in your diet, could bridge that gap in your diet every day? And I said, this is 11 years ago. And I said, how is that possible? So she explained it to me. And I'm somebody who asks a lot of questions. And I said, well, how does this work? She goes, well, you start taking it, and you take it on a 4-month period. Okay. And she said something very smart. She said, look, you won't see things happening. You may feel more energy. You may feel better. But what it's also going to do, probably most important for you, is fill a gap that you're not getting. And she was right, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't love vegetables. I like my core vegetables. I like my salad, but I'm not one of those people who loves vegetables. So it was great for me. So after about 4 months, I said, you know what? I do feel a little more energy, but I'm really just mentally, it's leading me down a healthier path. I'm thinking more about what I'm eating all the time. So I think, mentally it's doing that for me, and I'm going to continue on it. A little while later, she asked me, so you work out every day. So what are you using for recovery? What kind of protein do you put back in your body? Everybody knows where she's going with this, right? And I said, well, I drink protein shakes. And just like everybody else, I was going to GNC, and I was getting whey protein. I know it's a terrible thing. I know that. But I didn't know it back then. And she said, well, let me tell you about a product that I have, because I think it's healthier for you. So she told me about the product, but notice she asked me questions first about my lifestyle and what I use for recovery. And she also asked me, what do you do between meals? Because if you work out like you do, you must get hungry. And I do. She said, well, this would be great between meals as well. So she brought me some samples. In those days, we didn't have the sample packs. She just brought me some, tried it, liked it, became a user of the shakes. Next thing, you can imagine, she wants to get me on the bars, right? So what does she do? Again, lifestyle questions. She says, well, you travel a lot, right? And I've always traveled for my job. And I said, yeah. She says, well, what do you do on the plane? What do you eat? And I said, well, I don't like to eat the food on a plane, so I try to pack almonds with me. But but sometimes I forget, so I just end up drinking water, and I'm really hungry. And she said, well, I've got a product for you that might be great. And introduced me to the bars. So by asking questions, she increased her retail sales profit with me, right? She didn't stop at the trio. So think about what that can do with you for all your customers if you speak to them about that, but also if you taught the people in your downline the same thing. Does that make sense? Right? That's what customer care is as well. It's not just asking people, how's it working for you? Or sometimes not asking anything because you're afraid to ask, because you're afraid what they might say. And I have to tell you, most people, if they're going to cancel, they're going to cancel. They bought it because they like you and they like what the product does for you. We don't get a lot of cancellations. So what I want to make sure you understand is don't be afraid to talk to your customers about what they're doing. I would check in with my customers every 6 to 8 weeks. just to make sure that everything's going okay, make sure they know about the rest of the product line. I have a great story for you. I was flying from Dallas to San Diego. And so Texas is not in my region, even though I live in Dallas. And I'm saying that for a reason. You'll find out in a minute. So this is not my region, but I was flying from Dallas to San Diego, and I took one of the bars out of my bag, and I put it on my tray like I always do because I want everybody to see it. And I put it on my tray and opened it up, put it on a napkin so everybody could still see the wrapper. And the flight attendant comes by. And she said, "What kind of bar is that?" Which is exactly what I want her to do, by the way. And what kind of bar is that? And she says, and I said, "Well, it's a Juice Plus bar." And I'm sure she sees all kinds of bars, right? And it's a Juice Plus bar. And you know what she says to me? "Oh, I take the capsules. I didn't know they had bars." Tells you a lot. Like, it was like perfect for my story. But I was like, oh my gosh, you just made my day. Not because you don't have the bars, but I've been waiting for this moment. And so I got her name and got it to customer service. They found the representative here in Texas. But the point is, it illustrates my point. So more important than, those of you who have just customers, that's important. But those of you who have customers and team, important to teach your team those skills, because they can really drive their bottom line. Now, next thing I want to talk about with you is this. Product story versus business story. So my guess is that everybody on this call can tell me their product story. I'm not going to make you do that today. But I'm sure everybody on this call can tell me their product story. And the reason I know that is I was in Sacramento the week of December 11th. And I was at an NMD's house, Michelle Pitto, on December 13th. And she had 32 people at her house that night for a talk with me. And 32 people, it was awesome. It was holiday time, so it was a lot of fun. And we're sitting around, and I decided this would be a good opportunity to try something I've been thinking a lot about. Thinking a lot about what people's product story is versus their business story. All right? And do people think about both of those things when they're approaching people? So I went around the room and I asked every person, all 32 of them, tell me what you're thankful for with Juice Plus. Like, what comes to mind? Of 32 people in that room, 29 of them told me about the product. And told me what the product has done for them and or their family. They were passionate, like to no end, about the product. 3 people told me the business story. And I gave them, I didn't say anything on product or business. I just wanted to know. And it's exactly what I thought would happen. Because we're really good at Juice Plus at telling our product story. Like, we'll tell anybody about it. And I can tell online, I see it on Facebook all the time. I talk to representatives, and they all tell me about what it's done for their family, how it's helped them with their health in some way or another, bridge the gap like it has for me. I mean, all those type of things. The kids don't run in the house now looking for snacks. They look for their shake, like all those things, right? The thing we don't do as well, and we have to get better at, is telling our business story. And what I mean by that is this. So everybody's got one. So whether it's, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, Steve, I joined as a representative because I wanted to pay for my product. You know what? That's great, because a lot of representatives do that. And that's the first sort of introduction for a lot of people, is just that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the next thing to do is to talk about where have you taken your business from there. All right, everybody with me so far? Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Good. So what have you done with your business so far? And know your business story. So what did I do with my first check? What is my vision? Where do I want to take this business? If you've made $500 a month, what are you doing with that $500 a month? If I'm making $1,000 a month, what am I doing with it? So let me add 2 things here that's really important. Number 1, if you're out there making $750, $1,000 a month, and you're worried that's not enough money for somebody to hear, it's enough money for somebody to hear. Because if you tell somebody that you're working part-time and making $12,000 a year residual income from home, they're going to think that's darn good. Okay? And just remember, comparison is the thief of joy. I didn't make that up. That was Teddy Roosevelt. But comparison is the thief of joy. Okay, so whatever you're doing now is what you're doing now, and you're on a journey right now. You're enjoying the process. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is this: when you tell your product story and you tell your business story to someone, make it succinct. So tie it together. All right. The next thing you do, and representatives do this all the time, this is great, is you ask somebody, so how much money do you want to make a month? Right? Has everybody heard that before? Right? How much money do you want to make a month? And people will just pull dollar value out of the air, right? I want to make $500 a month. I'll make $1,000 a month. I want to make $1,500 a month. Okay. And what we usually do is we'll say, okay, great, let's get started. We can definitely do that. I want you to stop right there and not do that. What I want you to do is say, okay, you want to make $1,000 a month, and that's great. What are you going to do with that $1,000? When we eventually get there, where is that money going? And they may say something like, well, it'd be nice to have extra money. That's not enough. What you need to say is, where is that extra money going? What are you going to do with it? Let's make it even more, let's drill down a little further. When you get your first bonus check for $250, what are you going to do with it? Everybody with me? So are you going to pay for something specific? And what is that thing? And the reason why we do that is so people can work towards something tangible. Right? So now if you've told your product story and you've told your business story, and now you take somebody and say, okay, we can get to $1,000 a month with some work, but let's start working through be a distributor and the first bonuses you can make. And I want to know what you're going to do with your first check that you make. Because now you both have something to work towards. I want to tell you, last week when I was in Tucson, Arizona last week, which was great because it was like 12 degrees here. It was like 75 there. And so, I know it's 12 degrees in Dallas. Can you believe it? So it was 75 degrees in Tucson. And I was talking, we were at a cocktail party before my presentation. That's how they do things in Tucson. And I was talking to a young lady there, and she told me, well, I want to make $1,000 a month, Steve. And I said, well, that's great. I said, when did you start? Just a couple of weeks ago. Okay, great. So, you're not going to make $1,000 a month in your first week or your first 2 weeks. Let's talk about some immediate goals. So when you make your first bonus check, if you make $250, what are you going to do with it? So, well, my kid wants to play soccer, and I want to be able to pay with it with my Juice Plus money. So great. What's your next goal going to be? Let's say you make $500. What are you going to do? $500 a month, what are you going to do with it? Well, my car payment's $450. I'd love to pay with that with my Juice Plus money. You see the difference? It's something tangible. Now, the other part of that, though, is as the leader, you have to know that about every single person on your team, what that thing they're working toward, and that every time you talk to them, it's about, I see Jennifer's name here, so I'm going to say, Jennifer, you're going to say to them, we're working towards this. So we're getting closer to your car payment. We're only $100 a month away from that. So they know that you're as invested in their business as they are. And when they get there, you celebrate it. And then you make the next goal. Everybody with me on this? Okay? So for some of you who have team, it may take some going back and asking those questions. But I promise you it works. And I'll give you, the advantage of being a regional director sometimes, you get to visit with a lot of people. And as much as I travel, I get to talk to a lot of representatives and sort of watch what happens. And I was in Phoenix back in June. Anybody knows Dr. Phillips? Dr. David Phillips, everybody? You do? Okay. I was at his house. His wife Heidi is a QNMD. And we were around his kitchen table with some representatives. And we were having this exact same conversation. And a young girl named Nicole was at the end of the table. And we were having this conversation. And she said, well, I have like 7 people frontline direct to me, but they don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. And I said to her, I said, the first thing you ever learn as a leader is when you say they all the time, it's really not their problem. It's a you problem. Because your message isn't getting through. Because if everybody, it's impossible that nobody wants to work. It's impossible. It means that the message isn't getting there, or we're not training them for just the next step and simplifying it. So then we had the conversation like we just had about her frontline people and what their tangible goals are. And she said, well, I really don't know. I said, well, that's a problem. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Target or Walmart and buy yourself a whiteboard. And I want you on that whiteboard to put all their names, and I want you to call each of them or get together with them and find out what it is. Like wherever they are now, what's their next goal and what are they going to do with that money? So the next day I get from Nicole, I get a whiteboard at Target, and she's pointing to it. And the day after that, I get the whiteboard with the names on it. And seriously, in 6 to 8 weeks, she went from a VF to an SC. Because she began to work hand in hand, and they knew exactly where they needed to go. They knew exactly what the math was to get to that goal that would allow them to reach the dollars they needed to get for a certain something. So does that make sense to everyone?
Totally. This is awesome.
Okay, who was that, by the way?
Melissa.
Okay, good. So I just can't tell because I can't see you. So no, that is like the key to so much of it, and the key to so much of the buy-in from people on your team or people that you're approaching to come on your team is what are they working for? Because you know what? If they just pull $1,000 out of the air or $700 out of the air, it's easy to walk away from that. Because even if you say the car payment, or if they go home and tell their significant other, or they tell their mom because they, whatever, I'm working toward my car payment. Now it's like they really are working towards something. It's harder to quit. It's hard not to do something. But if they're just working towards some dollar value and they don't make it, and it only cost them what? $50 to join, right? So the great thing about $50 is you can cast a pretty wide net with $50, right? You can get a lot of people to say yes. And because nobody's coming to you with their last $50 and telling you to make me rich, right? They're just trying something different. But they believe in you because you've explained it well and you're passionate about your product. They may be on the product already. But the hard thing about $50 is that it's easy to walk away because there's not a lot invested. Like Juice Plus doesn't make you buy product, which is great. A big difference between us and other companies is you don't have to buy product. And because other companies, you have to buy product and hopefully sell it. All right? You don't have to reach a sales quota or lose your title. Like none of those things happen. You can have your title and life happens to you and you come back and you still have it. And if you have a good business, it keeps rolling along even when you had to take a break. So these are all real positives. But the point is that people can easily walk away when they first start if two things don't happen. Number one, they don't have success quickly. And number two, they're not working towards something that they really need or want. Sometimes it's a certain vacation they want to take, right? I mean, sometimes it's something really nice. It isn't like a hardship. Like they want to go away somewhere. Lady told me same night in Sacramento that her dream was to go to Hawaii with her husband. And she had not been able to get it because they were always going on the second and third choice vacation because they weren't making the money they need. And she said, you know what I did? I priced the tickets out that I needed to fly to Hawaii, and that was my goal. And I told my husband that I'm going to pay for that trip. So, and she made it because she had something to work toward. So the other thing I want to touch on real quick here, because I know I've taken up a lot of your time, is training. So I like to call it just-in-time training, JIT, just-in-time training. And what that's all about, and I touched on it a moment ago, is we have to train people to where they are in the process. It's okay to give somebody a vision of what the future could hold, like what NMD could look like, but that's so hard to envision when you're first starting as a distributor, as some of you may know, or as a VF, right? Or as an SC. Like that's hard to see because this is all about a process. So what I ask you to do is train people to be really good distributors. Train people to get their customer base. Train somebody to make that HLP. And then when they do that, okay, now it's time for us to become a VF. Here's what we need to do. Here's exactly what you need to do to hit that level. As an SC, you need your 2 VFs and you need your DD. Okay, here's how we're going to do it. And here's the people you should be working with. Everybody with me on that? So it's really about give them the training they need at that moment. Don't overtrain people. Simplify as much as you possibly can in order for them to hit their tangible goals. So I will stop talking there because that was a lot in a half hour. Melissa, do you want to open up the questions?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I took like probably 5 pages of notes, Steve. This is awesome. See, that's the thing, you guys, we keep learning, you know, I love it so much that we just keep learning and learning and learning and getting better and better. And because we have this culture, we can share all of those skills and those benefits with each other, which is, like you said, so unique. So I would love for you guys to, if you have some questions or you're curious about something company related or anything really. I mean, Steve's so approachable. I would love for you to unmute yourself and come on and ask some questions. Or if something came to mind, I want to really throw this out too. If something came to mind as he was talking about like a financial goal that attached itself to something that came to your mind, I would really challenge you guys to say it out loud to the group, because that starts to sink in when you do things like that. So if there's anybody that wants to jump on here.
And don't be shy, I promise.
And Steve, if you click on the, it was on speaker view, but if you click to gallery view, you'll see everybody's faces too, because I switched it midway through.
Let me do it. Hold on, here we go. There it is. Yeah, there you are.
Where am I?
It's like the old Hollywood Squares, you know. Those of you old enough to remember that, yes.
Super fun.
All right, so I'm also going to, you guys can honestly, oh, hey, Buffy. So I know her. So if anybody also wants to ask me questions, like you don't want to do it in this forum, or you want to run something by me as far as like what your goals might be, or what activities you want to use to sort of get to those goals, you can find me on Voxer and I will answer you. So it's the Steve Shapiro. My handle, I guess you'd call it, is Steven, S-T-E-V-E-N. Well, you see it right there. Steven Shapiro at Juice Plus. Yeah. So there's a lot of Steve Shapiros out there, but it's Steven Shapiro at Juice Plus. And if you want to Voxer me and like lay out your goals for the next month, because I like to talk to people like in month kind of sections. And what your most important thing though, guys, is not what the goals are. The most important thing is for you, I'm going to talk about you guys, is what the activities are to get to those goals. Yeah. What are you going to do to get your 5 new customers and 2 team members and add to 3 of your customers' orders? Like that kind of stuff. But what are you going to do to do that? Because hoping doesn't make it happen. Like you just can't hope, because then it's not going to happen. Right? But that was funny. It was a cat. But the funniest things happen on Zoom, don't they? So, but it's about what activities are going to help you get there, because that's what's most important. And what events are you going to hold? What events are you going to? Who are you going to speak to? And I keep thinking of these things as I talk. One last thing, I hope you don't mind, is with your customers, and this happened with me, is that, so I went to work for Avon, and then the NMD approached me to be a representative, but obviously I couldn't. But let me just give you a little insight. When I was just a customer of hers, and I was not in the direct selling world, I had no idea what was going on in direct selling. Like I did not know that she had this other side to her business where she helped and supported other people to grow successful businesses. I didn't know she had a team. I just thought she sold a lot of Juice Plus.
Right.
Okay, is everybody with me on this? Understanding where I'm going with this? I was totally unaware that as a Juice Plus representative, you also had like team members and you were helping them grow their business. I thought she just sold a lot of product, like she was really good at it. Because she said, I said, well, how do you do with this? And she said, oh, I'm at the top level. And I thought she just sold a bunch of Juice Plus. I thought like everybody at the gym was taking it. But the point I'm making is that I didn't know there was this other side to her business. So unless you have told your customers that, and unless they're uniquely aware of direct selling, I would make them aware of it. And the best thing about that is that it's easy to do. And so approaching your customers is just saying something along the lines of, I was just thinking about you today. And they'll try to say, or you can say, I have 20 customers, or I have 15 customers, or I have 25 customers, whatever. I have 10 customers. And I was thinking about you today. Because I'm not sure that you know that not only do I sell Juice Plus, but I have another side to my business. I help and support other people to have a successful business just like mine. And we have so much fun doing it. And I would love for you to be part of my team. Like, just like that. And you'd be surprised how many people don't know, because I didn't know until I got into direct selling that existed. That was going on. So my thing to you is make sure that you're speaking to your customers about the other side of your business, because as I said at the beginning, your wealth will increase when you run both parts of your business with a balance. You'll get there faster to your goals with team as long as your customer base is solid. Right? As long as your customer base is solid. And as I said earlier, if you have 25, I'm using 25 as a pretty good number. If you have 25 solid customers, like if I was your customer, that kind of person, then you're in great shape with customers. Now it's like full speed ahead in building your team. And you'd be amazed at how different your check looks when you start building team. Yes. Right? It really changes. It really changes. And I'll tell you what, I've seen some great things in a year and 2 weeks. I've seen some amazing things happen with people when they sort of open their eyes, start talking to their customers. And the other thing is Juice Plus becomes something that's in the forefront of their mind all the time. So when they're in the restaurant talking to the server and having a great conversation with her or him, and they're learning about their life and they're exchanging pleasantries, and what they don't do is they don't walk back to the car and go, why didn't I say something? Because we've all done that. Like I've done it where you walk in, why didn't I say something to her? That was, what's wrong with me, right? Instead, you talk to her about it. And the reason you talk to her about it is because it's not about you. It's about her. And that's a different mindset. It makes it so much easier when you think about you have a gift to give to someone else. You have an opportunity that you took advantage of that you want to give to somebody else, rather than, God, I want her on my team. I need her on my team. If I get her on my team, what could this mean? Like that mindset will destroy you because when you get no's, you'll be like, oh my God, nobody likes me, right? But if it's about, I have given this opportunity or gift to somebody else that I took advantage of, and if she says no, it's just not the right time for her, but I feel better because I took the time to do it. Because the worst thing would be if you don't do that and she really needed you that day.
And that's happened, I have to say, from personal experience, Steve, where, the business in some cases has been what they needed more than the product. Sometimes, we so much lead with, oh, they have a sickness or an ailment or whatever. And that's a trap. It's really just about getting to know that person. And like you said, you have this tool set, and I always pray before my day of just put the people in my path that are wanting and deserving of this. And then it's my job, if I get that little tickle, to share. And I don't know what's going to happen with it, but it's really up to them. My conscience is clean, knowing that I gave the opportunity out and created that interaction, because without that, you're right, we're holding it back, and who knows what's going on in their life, right?
That's 100% right. And I think that's it's a hard mindset to get into, because it can be, I get it, it can be scary. I totally get it. And the other thing is, look, this isn't easy. Like, this isn't easy, or everybody would do it.
Right.
But it's so much fun. And it's something like we believe in. And the product is something we believe passionately about. As I told you, about the 29 out of 32 people were like, and people are crying like with the stories. And that's the heart we have.
Yeah.
But the other part is we have a business too that some people might be interested in. So the things I'll leave you with is to get comfortable with not only your product story, but your business story, and realize that you have a lot to give, and think about the balance in your business. Think about speaking to your customers about joining your team, and then make sure it's in the forefront of your mind when you're out and about. Melissa, do you still have that poem that I sent earlier in the year?
I was just thinking that I should post it up after. Yeah.
Send it back out to your team, because and if you guys read it tonight, and every time I read it, it hits home as to that's what we do. That's what we do. And again, if you want to contact me via Voxer, if I'm not on a plane, I will get back to you as some of you know on this that I'm looking at right now. I'll get back to you really quickly. And if you want to run your business by me, that'll be awesome. That'll be great. And we'll further the conversation. And that's all I got tonight.
Thank you so much. I know, Danielle, did you have a question? Because you unmuted at one point, I thought.
Not necessarily, no, a question. I mean, I think this was amazing. And I took so many pages of notes, actually. I can't wait to go back over and highlight now.
Wow, you're listening. Excellent. Thank you, Danielle. That's very you. And it's funny because I was just saying,
yeah, just in time training. I love that. I mean, there's so many amazing nuggets, but even from my own experience stepping into this business, you know, like you just said too, we get so comfortable around our product story, right? So I started 3 years ago and it wasn't until I got comfortable sharing the business side that I actually at that point was then able to grow a team.
Yep.
And it makes such a difference when we can get comfortable with sharing our business story just as well as our product story. It makes a huge difference.
I couldn't have said any better. I mean, that's perfect. I mean, really, that is the crux of all of it. And, you know, it's something I've been thinking about seriously for like 6 months. And I just keep, and we talk about it internally now, because I brought that up at one of our meetings. I'm like, you know, I see it. And no representatives at any company love their product more than we do. Like, it's unbelievable, right? And it's so true. And we should be so proud of that. And we need to continue to do that because it's helping so many people. But we also need not to lose track of the business. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just something we have to just get better at. And I think we'll get there. We'll get there as we get more comfortable.
You know, and Steve, just for something that popped into my head as you were talking about that, you know, we talk about the 3-door approach, but maybe we need that 4th door. You know, the business is the 4th door, and just and incorporating it together because it is as much a product as the other ones are.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So,
sure.
And it kind of sits in your brain a little bit differently, I think, knowing that that's something that you have to extend out as well in that international interaction. So,
yeah. And it gets to, and also, you know, let's face it, all of that works together to recognition, all of that too, right? When you're an SC and you walk across the stage, or an SSC and you walk across the stage, or skip, or whatever you do, right? And a Q, and then as MDs you make your speech. I mean, if I had to think about, if you asked me to one thing, like, why do I love my job? And I love my job. And the reason I love it, and it's gonna sound really kind of corny, but when those people walk across the stage, like, I want to know I had like a little bit to do with it. And that's where you get the motivation from. And so, you know, that it takes all you guys doing what you need to do every day and to help yourselves and really believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. You know, because every single person that you see at conference started with their first customer and started with their first distributor. Like, everybody, no matter the Wedney Campbells in the world, they started with the first person. Okay? So just always remember that. Like, remember, it's a process. You don't wake up in the morning and run 26 miles and decide I can run a marathon now. It's a process. It's a journey, and you all can do it.
Yay! Thank you so much. This was so awesome.
Find me a Voxer, and thanks so much for inviting me, Melissa.
Oh my gosh, anytime, Steve.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.